Kristallnacht. America's young, woke terror supporters are out in full force in New York tonight. The second night in a row. We're going to show you some video from last night's pro-Hamas, pro-Palestine rallies here as thousands reminded American Jews that they're not even safe in our most progressive city. Look at this video. Many offices actually closed today in anticipation of night two of what's happening in New York. Last night, thousands of radicals marched right through the streets of New York to the New York Times. Unafraid, emboldened in a country that consistently capitulates to their radical left ideology, they fear nothing. You see a cop car here spray painted with KKK, IDF, and Free Gaza. People who cheer on terrorism, calling the Jews and anyone who supports them KKK. It is the gaslight of the century. This is the new reality of your country. This is the faction that seems to be growing in strength and, again, are just completely unafraid. This radical movement is going nowhere. This new incarnation of Black Lives Matter, Antifa, which is exactly what it is. It's the same people just wearing Palestinian garb. They long to eradicate Israel. That's the hot new woke Marxist topic, right? Everything has to be oppressor and oppressed. This is the way it works. And the Biden White House is already working toward appeasement of this terrifying group, as it is, as we all know, a critical voter base for an election they have in 1 year. Biden now rapidly moving away from Israel. Here was the president on his way to a union speech yesterday.
Mr. President, are you frustrated with Prime Minister Netanyahu that he has not listened more to some of the things you have asked him to do?
It's taking a little longer than I hoped.
Did you ask for a 3-day pause to Netanyahu?
You know, I've been asking for a pause for a lot more than 3 days.
Been asking for a lot more than 3 days. Yeah, he's effectively asking now to just give up the fight against Hamas. So are some very important people around him. We'll get to that here in a second. It is terrifying to imagine, but the Hamas-Iran propaganda machine is making major gains right here in the West. As expected, much of the media is now vilifying Israel for not perfectly manicuring its response to avoid the human shields that Hamas uses to avoid retribution for its heinous massacre on October 7th. The standards that the American media and the American left and the Western left have for Israel are far higher than for anyone else in this war. Take a listen to an anchor on Sky News attempt to guilt trip a top Israeli diplomat, and she quickly gets dosed with some harsh reality.
As you said, the Hamas estimate is 10,000. So say 3,000 Hamas operatives losing their lives. Are you comfortable with that ratio?
8 million Germans died in World War II and 400,000 Americans did. I don't know how many Brits did, but that means 20 times as many Germans died as Americans. Does that mean that somehow the Nazis were right and the Americans were wrong? We cannot allow such an act of barbarism to go unanswered, and we cannot give them immunity with the use of human shields, because what happens is they use the human shields to try to turn public opinion against Israel.
And yet they still don't understand a month later. Nobody's figured it out. No matter how many times they're reminded of this, the narrative continues. It's being furthered by Biden's own administration now. The new head of the Joint Chiefs, General Charles Brown, sharply criticizing Israel's response. The chairman of the Joint Chiefs telling Israel it's time to stop trying to dismantle Hamas, saying the faster you can get to the point where you stop the hostilities, you have less strife for the civilian population that turns into someone who now wants to be the next member of Hamas, from the fool that now runs our military. Tolerance of terrorism. That is the messaging from the head of the U.S. military. These are the people that they bring in. He borrowed that line from Obama, by the way. The idea that if Israel just lays back and just continues to take it from Iran and Hamas and avoids getting annihilated, if they just stop retaliating for a couple decades, at some point the terrorists will stop trying to murder them. You know, maybe in 10, 20, 30 years, when all of these current terrorists are gone and the new wave are there, they won't be as mad at Israel because Israel never bombed back. That kind of lunacy is coming from a former president and the head of our military in this country. So here's a wake-up call to both. This is video of a school inside Gaza where elementary-aged kids are being trained to invade and kill Israelis. We can bring it up full screen. These are small children, proof that regardless of how Israel responds to Hamas's relentless attempts, continuing relentless attempts to wipe them off the map, these kids are going to be the next iteration. This is the next generation of fighters for Hamas. Look at how young these children are. Look at the Israeli flag on that building. Look at this. Can you imagine? That's a school inside Gaza. A message for Obama and General Brown. If you're looking for somebody to blame for that, you can start with your favorite agency, the United Nations, which funds these schools and that school. The schools that are training 5-year-old Palestinian kids how to hate and how to murder innocent people. The United Nations Relief and Works Agency runs 183 schools inside the Gaza Strip. Did you know that? The UN is running these schools. They have to because Hamas uses all of its money to buy missiles. So we have to pay for Gaza education. But while your money pays for it, as the United States is the bulk of UN money, as we all know, the United States is the UN. Hamas still clearly controls the education program and the propaganda. And you're paying for the video you just saw. Since Biden has been in office, he has sent $730 million of your dollars to the UN RWA to help train the next generation of Hamas Neanderthals willing to suicide bomb Israel. Earlier this week, the Washington Post dared to keep it real on this war and risked angering the same radical faction that the left, that the White House is so afraid of, I should say. They published this cartoon with the leader of Hamas strapped to children, scolding Israel for killing civilians. The fury came fast when readers saw that, readers of the Washington Post saw that. Using the magic word racist, they all piled on Twitter. The post was deleted very quickly by the Washington Post. The cartoon was gone, and WAPO, the Post, ended up apologizing for its racism, for posting a very, very, very real and very true cartoon.